My name is Nickel, and in this video we're talking about a piece of software that you can download in order to gain a lot of information in real time while you're playing Overwatch. A lot of people think this is a cheat, some people think that it's definitely not, but in this video we're going to break it down, talk a little bit about how it works, and more. If you guys end up enjoying this video, definitely drop a thumbs up. Don't forget to enter into the Battle.net card giveaway via the link down below in the description. And also, today we're going to be doing a live stream over on Facebook, also linked down below. The stream might turn into the next episode of Nickel Ball Z, but episode 3, regardless, is coming out tomorrow. It's already all done and ready to go. So make sure you guys check that out as soon as episode 3 drops. So first and foremost, this is not something that I endorse or have done any testing to see if it's safe or not for your computer or for your Battle.net account. So with that in mind, definitely be careful. Be aware that a lot of times stuff like this has consequences, so definitely do some research in that direction, since we have seen tons of accounts get banned in the past for actual cheating devices, but this one is kind of on the border. So it's called Visor. Apparently, they just raised $4.7 million in a Series A round in order to help grow the company. And the way it works is basically like this. As you're playing the game, once you have this program installed, it will pop up little messages on the sides for you to get tips. I'll show you guys a couple of streamers that have used this in real time, and you can kind of see the tips that they got as they were going. Sometimes they could be helpful, and sometimes it seems like they're not so helpful, particularly ones it tells you how long you've been holding your ult and that you shouldn't hold your ult as long, or kind of suggests you to use your ult. But as you guys know, that's not always the case. You don't always want to use your ultimate as soon as you get it. That's kind of something that's hard to advise on, but there are other things that are pretty useful if they do work all the time. One of them, probably the biggest one, is the fact that it will give you an idea of when your enemies will be getting their ultimates. So for example, if Genji's about to get his blade, it'll give you a 10-second warning before it believes Genji is about to pull out his dragon blade. Clearly this can't be 100% accurate because they're just basing it on what it's seeing on screen, because I've even seen examples of streamers getting the notification that an ultimate is coming after they've died from that ultimate that they were being warned about. In this example from the streamer Jane, which I'll leave a link to down below in the description, the program actually tells him that he's holding his ult too long, which doesn't really make sense in this situation.
You're holding your ult too long again.
What am I supposed to do? There's a Brig and the Zen has trance.
Well, he has bridging.
What if you? There, Visor, you happy?
The way that it seems like it works is it's just getting all of the visual information that it can see, including the kill feed and how people are dying, and then breaks down more information from there. So on their little charts of some of the Visor alerts they have on their website, they have this one that says prioritize ult usage. You've been holding your ult for 30 seconds, which, like I said, that's kind of subjective whether or not it should even be telling you that. Then group up with team. Your team is trickling and scattered. I guess that can sometimes just be a good reminder. It actually has one that says play aggressively. Your enemies are trickling and scattered. So it's kind of the same thing but in reverse. So if it notices that your enemies are trickling in, then it wants you to push forward faster. There's also a reminder on here to call for help if you've died multiple times to the same enemy. One that's actually pretty interesting is a reminder to help out your healers. So the little text I have here is that healers are dying early in 67% of team fights. So that could actually be kind of useful just as a mental checklist to remember, oh yeah, I got to take care of the healers in case you're not thinking of them for some reason. Right here we also see watch for the enemy diva ult, which they predict will be in 10 seconds. So there are a lot of people that think that this is just outright cheating, mostly due to the fact that it tells you when the enemy ultimates could be. But the closest thing that I could see relating to this is actually some of those Hearthstone trackers. I'm not sure how many of you guys know, but back in the day I actually used to be a Hearthstone streamer in the pretty early days of Hearthstone, and I would just play tons and tons of Hearthstone. But towards the end of that time period in my life, that's when Hearthstone trackers ended up coming out, or at least getting popular. But I remember back then, at least from the people that I saw, a lot of them that used them got a ton of flack, and I'm not sure if that's still the case right now, if Hearthstone streamers are still getting a lot of flack for using those, but I know that at one point pretty much every Hearthstone streamer I saw had some form of a deck tracker on screen while they were streaming, and everyone kind of just accepted it as normal. So will that be the case with this? It's kind of hard to say. And if you don't know anything about Hearthstone or what the deck tracker did, Hearthstone is just basically a card game where you could only have 2 of any given card in your deck if it was a normal card, and only 1 copy of it if it was a legendary card. So essentially what the tracker would do is just keep a record of what your enemy has already played. When you go through long periods of playing game after game after game of Hearthstone, you kind of do lose track of, wait, how many fireballs has this guy played? Was that the last game? You can't really remember or keep it straight. So having something like this kind of streamlines it instead of having to have a pen and paper to take notes as you're playing, which I don't think most people do to begin with anyway, but those that are really going for it probably would. So if you want to run this, apparently you need to be able to run Overwatch in 720p. So when it comes to what does Blizzard think of this, there's actually this screenshot floating around that I would not say to completely rely on, but it has the doer-in-chief, as he calls it here, from Visor saying on Discord, regarding Blizzard, we are actually in contact with Blizzard, so we aren't worried about it being a cheat. Obviously, it won't be used in official tournaments, Overwatch League, etc., but Visor doesn't use anything you can't see yourself and never modifies or touches memory. It may be helping you improve and have more fun comparing your real-time performance versus your averages or sending you alerts, but those are enhancing the game experience versus detracting. So as I mentioned before, that doesn't guarantee that your account won't get banned or anything like that, but it is interesting that this is noted here. This is ran back on July 3rd according to the timestamp on this. This account, as it's written here, is actually a real account on their Discord, just in case you were wondering. Okay, so when you get the program, the first thing you see is this thing that says Visor Alerts. Visor automatically sends you in-game alerts to tell you critical information about your game, just like we talked about before. This one, the example says to group up with your team. You push next, you see all the stuff we talked about before. You can actually click on it. So then we see the command center. Basically, you hold tab to activate the command center. Press and hold tab. Oh, it actually makes you press and hold tab. So once you do that, you can see on the left side, you have the stats for your hero, damage per minute, healing per minute, and how many times you died per minute. Also to watch enemy ult, help healers, group up the team. So some of the instructions they tell you here are to play in borderless windowed mode, set it to 16:9, and close conflicting programs. And some of these programs, I guess, include Razor Synapse and all this other stuff. So in this example here, you can see that there's a Hammond that comes out by himself, just pops around the corner, and I'm just trying to play as randomly as possible here to see what it does if I just kind of jump around and shoot aimlessly. Well, when the Hammond actually dies, we get this notification that says play aggressively, your enemies are trickling and scattered. This actually shows up over and over again, and I'm guessing they just base that on whenever they see a red bordered enemy that comes out by himself and ends up dying, it reminds you to push forward and play aggressively. But since this game is kind of just all over the place, we actually get that notification multiple times. We also get the reverse of that, which is to group up with the team, since it says that when your team is scattered and trickling. So it's kind of like the inverse version of the other one, where if it determines that you are scattering, maybe it counts the number of friendly heroes versus enemy heroes and then sends you that, I guess. In this little experiment, we actually didn't get anything that had to do with showing you the ult charge, even though we do know that's a real thing that you can have. But we do get one that says that our Widowmaker has died to the enemy Widowmaker this amount of times and wants us to help her. So right when we come out of the spawn, we see help Widow. Your Widow has died 3 times to enemy Widow. So I'm sure if I tested this a little bit more, we would probably eventually see that reminder on the timing for the enemy's ult charge. I feel like that is by far the most useful thing, depending on how accurate it is. But as we've seen in a lot of other examples, it's not always completely accurate. Maybe that'll keep improving over time though. And in case it wasn't obvious already, people that play the game a ton already have a sense of when enemy ult charges are coming out anyway. So I think this is more geared towards people that really just want a lightweight type of coach scenario, because essentially when you boil it down, that's what it's trying to be. It's trying to be your virtual coach to try and help you build those habits and kind of lead you towards building some game sense in the game. If it does end up being pretty accurate, it makes me wonder if it would ever have the reverse effect if people become too reliant on it where they can't really play without it. But I feel like just at a glance, it would probably be much less so in this if you were comparing it directly to something else like the Hearthstone deck tracker. Because with the deck tracker, it keeps track of every single card they use. And I guess you could say that's the same for ultimates, but with the ultimates, it's not, at this stage at least, 100% accurate. It's more of an estimation. But in Hearthstone, you 100% know that they did use that card definitively. So as this keeps improving over time, maybe there will be an incredibly high percentage of showing the enemy's ult charge, which for anyone that isn't already mentally keeping track of that, they would probably benefit the most. But if you already play a ton of Overwatch and you already have a ton of game sense, I'm not exactly sure how much this would help you. And maybe that's what they're planning on. They're not trying to help super high level players, because even in that post he says that this is clearly not for people who are trying to play with this in the Overwatch League or any tournaments or anything, obviously. So what do you guys think? Do you think that this is something that Blizzard is eventually going to ban? I mean, if they really did accept $4.7 million of funding, they probably have some kind of reason to inspire confidence in the people that were giving them that much money. But maybe not. Maybe they're just crossing their fingers and hoping. I'm not sure how most people feel about deck trackers on Hearthstone, but this seems to be probably the closest parallel in the Overwatch world. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. And if this is something that you would even use yourself. And as I mentioned at the beginning, be careful with this, because you never know if they're going to start banning accounts for people using this, regardless of what they say or what anyone says, really. So let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments. Drop a thumbs up and subscribe if you ended up enjoying the video. And today, we're actually going to be doing a live stream over at facebook.com/onickel. I would love to see you guys there. And if you haven't checked out these shirts, this is them. And there's also a link for these shirts down below in the description. It's a hamachi. Either way, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.